The federal government of Nigeria has concluded plans to release over $800 million under the Presidential Power Initiative to significantly enhance the government's effort at revamping the country's power supply nationwide. The government of Nigeria, through the Ministry of Power, has targeted the construction of Western and Eastern supergrid as solutions to the incessant electricity challenges in the country. According to government sources, the existing network on the national grid cannot support the government's visions for the power sector, hence the need for the Western and Eastern supergrid. The government also said 90% of the approval required is in place and will be concluded soon. Owing to the current strength, capacity and age of Nigeria's existing network on the national grid, it cannot really support the current vision for the power sector, hence the need for the construction of the Western and Eastern supergrid. The government at the center is currently backing this project up because it is believed that the project will improve the transmission network, stabilize the grid, and also expand the capacity and flexibility of the national grid. KPMG defines a supergrid as not just a network of networks, but simply a supergrid is a large-scale transmission network that makes it possible to trade high volumes of electricity across great distances. According to the minister, the federal government of Nigeria is concluding plans to release about $800 million for the construction of substations and distribution lines under the Presidential Power Initiative. The money, according to the minister, will ensure the construction of substations for Lot 2, substations and distribution lines for Lot 3 at $400 million each. Lot 2 covers Benin, Port Harcourt and Enugu distribution companies franchise areas, while Lot 3 covers Abuja, Kaduna, Jos and Kano discos franchise areas. It is also important to note that as at August 30th, generation peaked at 5,170 megawatts. Unfortunately, it had to be ramped down to 1,400 megawatts due to the inability of the discos to peak the supply. This is really regrettable considering that the government is on course to increase generation to 6,000 megawatts by the end of the year. The government has also noted that more than 59% of industries in Nigeria are off-grid. They do not see the national grid as reliable and dependable, so a lot of them now operate their own captive self-generated power. According to government sources, the current administration is determined to transform the power sector, adding that a lot of activities have started that are gradually bringing back confidence in the sector and among the power sector consumers, especially the industries. The announcement for the construction of this project comes months after the former Minister of Power advocated for the construction of a supergrid to end the frequent collapse of the national power grid. The past minister has stated that the current grid structure was not robust enough and had previously sought the approval of the Federal Executive Council to build a 765 kV supergrid network that will rise above the existing 330 kV network. Many stakeholders have actually applauded the federal government for reviving the supergrid project, emphasizing its importance to transmitting power from high-capacity power plants like the Mambila Power Plant, which is expected to generate over 10,000 megawatts of power upon completion. Nigeria's national grid has collapsed more than 5 times in 2024 alone, leaving Nigerians in darkness and highlighting the urgent need for a more stable and reliable power transmission infrastructure. The federal government of Nigeria's plan to construct a supergrid is seen as a crucial step towards addressing this issue and improving the country's power sector. The Nigerian power sector experiences many broad challenges related to electricity policy enforcement, regulatory uncertainty, gas supply, transmission system constraints, and major power sector. It has also been observed that the national grid is characterized by a poor voltage profile of network and constrained by limited control infrastructure. Overloaded transmission lines and high technical and non-technical losses are regular features. It is evident available generated power falls short of the load demand in Nigeria, primarily due to ever-increasing energy demand resulting from an increased population. Despite the transformation in the power sector, the transmission and distribution sector is still laden with several challenges ranging from limited transmission capacity of 5,170 megawatts, high technical and non-technical power losses, vandalism and needless power theft, corruption in power management, ineffective distribution planning method, inaccurate metering system, inadequate, old and dilapidating T&D infrastructure, poor voltage stability, inadequate coverage, aged and inadequately trained personnel, radial transmission lines with insufficient redundancies to meet up with the N1 contingency criterion. Nigeria stands out as one of the largest oil producers in Africa. However, what is obvious is the fact that the country's power sector still grapples with infrastructure challenges as it concerns national grid. It is against this backdrop that industry stakeholders observe that such effort, glaring challenges, and subsequent effort by government to address it may not see the light of the day unless it creates an incentivized investment climate that will support the development of supergrid. As earlier stated, a supergrid is a wide area transmission network that makes it possible to treat high volumes of electricity across great distances. Industry operators advocate that with support of the government through the right policy to aid investment, the power sector is expected to be a prime beneficiary of this idea post-independence celebration. It has also been observed that this method will normally connect electric power plants and major substations, while ensuring that electricity of various forms and frequencies generated in one place can be utilized by persons elsewhere. For a successful functioning of the supergrid in Nigeria, a major technology upgrade is required to guarantee its realistic operation and an assured benefit to its beneficiaries. The development of the supergrid will positively influence investment decisions, change perception of market opportunities, and also ensure coordination between government and regulators. The supergrid network will also reduce wastages as surplus energy not used but produced can be transmitted or transported to other areas where they can be utilized by other persons. Without a supergrid, it will not be possible to take advantage of the large amount of energy that may be obtained from alternative sources of renewable energy such as wave farms, tidal lagoons, and concentrated solar power. Amongst other advantages of a supergrid are that it will influence investment decisions at a corporate level and encourage private participation in the power sector. These sources of renewable energy, although they can be quite remote, and can also be produced in large scale, and this will assist in a mass transmission of electrical power to more people who need to utilize such power. Analysts also maintain that to adequately reach the capacity of the power plant and meet the distribution needs of end users, it is germane that the generation, transmission, and distribution equipment are updated to meet international industry standards, which supergrid is supposed to solve. In the opinions of not a few industry players, the current administration needs to do a lot to improve the ease of doing business in Nigeria by not speaking but taking decisive actions that will ensure that foreign direct investments does actually find its way easily in Nigeria and have the clarity and certainty of government policy amongst other vital ingredients of ensuring that businesses can be very easily done in Nigeria. Analysts also maintain that irrespective of the role played by the private sector to improve power supply, it is pertinent that the federal government of Nigeria and state government too also invest in the improvement of road infrastructure. Alternative transportation modes like the cable cars can be developed to serve as a plausible means of transporting the LNG or compressed natural gas. It is believed that with this investment in the electric power sector, especially by foreign investors, it is capable of boosting investor confidence and triggering improved liquidity, which could help cushion the effect of the current challenges faced in Nigeria.